Show a 0.5% decrease in house prices in December, the smallest drop since 2007. So is 2013 the year that the property industry finally bottoms out?
Carl Dieter of advisors.ie joins us now to chat about this, as well as the bad news for those with variable rate mortgages with KBC. A very good morning to you, Carl. Before we get on to KBC, we'll start with those...
The happy news.
The happy news.
We'll start with the CSO figures. Is it happy news? Because this is, I mean, just a week and a half ago, the rating agencies, Fitch, said that house prices were going to drop by another 20% over the next 2 years.
Well, I think this slightly contradicts what Fitch were saying. December tends to be a very quiet time in the mortgage market. There were obviously some drawdowns in order to get in on TRS. But typically, if you're going to see big price drops, it happens in December and January, and it didn't. And let's not forget, if you start to look back over the last few months, property prices dropped 1.6%, went up 2.1% and dropped 1.5%. Add all those together, you've got a donut. It's a big zero. Nothing is happening. That's called stability. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, but the reason there was no a big drop in December was because there was no houses for, there was no stock in the market to sell.
Well, supply of houses that people want to live in, believe it or not, in cities, is going to be an issue, because we have plenty of properties that people don't want to buy all over the country. But when you start to get into cities, a lot of the stock is apartments. And what we've seen, certainly on the brokerage side of the company, is a huge preference for first-time buyers and trader-uppers to want a house with a backyard, a front yard, a semi-D, typical three-bed home. And those are the things that we don't have, that really, they're not being built either. So at some stage, the price of those will start to rise, and it will start to bleed out. As a matter of fact, the recovery will come in houses in cities first, and we've already started to see that. So everything else is sort of side effects, and you also have the stock that isn't selling, pushing that index down just a little bit. So there's a lot of things at play. The property market is massive, and it's not, just one big market, the way that when you buy a carton of milk, the bit at the top is the same as the bit at the bottom. Every part of it is different, and I don't take this as hugely negative news. I think it's a sign of stability entering the market, in fact.
Okay, well, that is a positive. But that whole TRS thing, that rush to December 31st, I just thought that it took the whole property thing and threw it up in the air and just waited to see how it was going to fall.
Yeah, I thought the same. When I came back to work, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if we'll be busy. But the truth is, we are pretty busy. As a matter of fact, we got lots of mortgage inquiries right through the Christmas period, and we still are.
Okay.
And the important thing about the way that the broker side of the company works is that we don't advertise, and when you deal with us, we charge people money. And if people are willing to pay that, they're not tire kickers. They're sincere inquiries. So I think that with or without tax relief at source was just the cherry on top. But I think people are really starting to realise that in a lot of places, that with an absence of supply, which means it might be trickier to get your ideal home in the future, and the small difference between buying and renting, and sometimes it's actually in favour of buying, that it makes sense because they're forming households. The increase in people renting, it's up 47% between the 2006 census and the next one. That doesn't mean that people aren't forming households and having kids and doing all regular things. They've just been on the sideline. So I think that there is a lot of pent-up demand out there.
Okay. You see, the thing is as well that if people, as you were saying, Fitch was saying to expect another 20% decrease in 2013, and if what we're told today...
Oh, over 2 years.
Over 2 years,
in fact, out of 12 countries, we were the worst, and they said Spain and Greece were going to go down 15%.
Okay.
So...
Yeah, it was peripheral Europe is what they referred to, and to be honest, even right now, no one knows what they were basing that data on. That is what I would call a kind of a macro call that I don't know where it came from, and in fact, I don't know anybody that knows where they also got their information from. But because it's Fitch, it does hold a lot of weight. But what you have to do is, rather than worry about what the ratings agencies say, and let's not forget, the ratings agencies made lots of mistakes during the boom, told people investments were good that weren't. They said that, Ireland was going to go under. We didn't. We're still here. Like, they're not God. Now, I'm not either. Like, Martin is.
Well, you've got that look about him, though. He's got that God look about him today.
Well, yeah, I'm aiming for at least one part of the Trinity, so he's going to crucify me for it later. But the thing is, no one knows for definite. All I'm saying is that on the ground, the signs are not nearly as negative as a lot of the news that we hear. Certainly in rural areas, it will probably continue on a downward trajectory. Yeah. Well, that's not the story of cities.
They are negative, I guess, for people watching this morning who hold standard variable rate mortgages with KBC. This Belgian bank has just announced it's upping its rate to, what, 4.5%?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I always rely on Sybil to get me going on the bad news stories consistently. Yeah, KBC have increased their mortgage rate. Now, they haven't done that in quite some time. They've never been the cheapest. They never were at any stage in their history out there doing the cheapest rate. They're also not anywhere near the biggest lender. At the top of their market, they were about 10% of the market, and now they're far below that, because if you want to get a loan with KBC, you've got to give down a 20% deposit. Where KBC's success has actually been in deposits, where they're paying excellent deposit rates, and that's what their concern is at the moment. They're not really in the business of lending. It's not to say that they're not lending, but their primary concern is in deposits, and they're taking in a lot of money in that. So they have an agenda, they're working to it, and they want to charge more for money that is scarce.
Okay, so this increase is actually of benefit to these deposit account holders, but bad news for those who have the variable rate mortgages.
Precisely. Like, if you want to offer high deposit rates, you know, to pay that deposit, it has to come from somewhere. And
so
typically it comes from the other side of the balance sheet, so to speak. So
their rate is now similar to Bank of Ireland, which is 4.5%, whereas AIB, I think, is cheapest at 4% at the moment.
AIB, yeah, is down around 4.24. Bank of Ireland are just above them. So there's a lot of different rates out there. It depends on the amount you're borrowing. It depends on the size of the loan. But in terms of just regular standard variables, you know, permanent TSB are now cheaper than KBC. They weren't in the past. So it's a constantly changing market, right. But they're not a market leader. I don't think that there's a risk that everyone else is going to go out and say, oh, we're all going to raise rates now too because KBC did it. They're just simply not a big player. I
saw that they said that they are going to, you know, work with customers who are having trouble, you know, and that they're mindful of the impact this will have, you know. I mean, you know, it's just, it's just annoying, you know.
There's a whole, I don't know what you call it, like a vernacular or like a banker speak, you know, dictionary.
That's like footballers' cliches. The bankers have their set as well. Yeah. More of us are using Visa cards. Now, is this again, last year, so many different banks said, give us back the laser, you're going to need your debit card now. Yeah. Is that why these figures are up?
That's actually the main reason. And the fascinating thing is that, you know, you've got online banking, online transactions, you've got now contactless payments are becoming more and more common, where you don't have to enter a PIN, you just hold your card up. But I think in general, companies like Visa are going to be the beneficiary of the move towards technology as a way of paying. You know, for a long time people thought it would be credit cards. In the future it'll actually be the smartphone. That's the one that is going to be where you do a lot of your transactions. In fact, in countries like Singapore, you know, people quite often aren't carrying any cash, and Irish people use as much cash, I think, in either a 2 or 4 week period as the average Danish person does in a whole year. So we have a very cash-intensive society, and the mistake that we've made is that we don't charge anything on cash transactions. But cash transactions, they carry a risk of loss, of theft, of all these other things, of transportation, whereas electronic ones don't. So eventually that seesaw is going to shift in favour of electronic payments, and you will see certainly payment systems on your mobile phone, more contactless cards, and things like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they're all primed right in that market. In fact, there's a huge move in the stock market with people saying that they're the stocks to buy, because if there's any economic recovery, and the fact that online shopping is going to be part of that, will be driving the consumer part of it, that those are the stocks that will actually be getting the uplift, not just the online companies, you know, or firms like Apple or those.
Okay, Carl, as ever, thanks so much for your good news this morning.
Now, coming up, would you eat a Skippy burger? I'll be sampling some unusual types of meat next.
Find out why Ireland is voting with their feet and going to Glow, a health insurer with the backing of the world's largest reinsurer, where you only pay for the cover you want, where your kids are free until they are 3, where your travel insurance can be included as part of your cover, and where you can get unique benefits like first aid courses and flu vaccines for free. Welcome to the world of Glow Health. Visit glowhealth.ie.
welcome back. Now, this year, the morning show is going to change one viewer's life forever. The Write a Bestseller competition is back, and here's what to expect.
How often have you browsed the bookshop envious of those who have made a career from writing?
I think a lot of Irish people want to write a book. There's a lot of creativity and a lot of communication skill among Irish people. A lot of people keen to write. It's just a case of putting pen to paper and taking that time to do it.
Well, if you're one of the many of us who dream of writing a novel, then now's your chance, because the morning show Write a Bestseller competition is back. We've teamed up once more with leading Irish publisher Poolbeg Press to offer all you aspiring writers the chance of a lifetime to see your novel published and on bookshelves around the country.
For this year's Write a Bestseller, we're looking for the next big name in Irish fiction. It could be the next Roddy Doyle, the next Ed O'Brien, the next Emma Donoghue. Really, if you feel that you have what it takes, now is the time. It's a great opportunity for you to sit down and get started. With all the authors we've dealt with over the years in Poolbeg, when you talk to them and we say, you know, is there a secret, is there a magic formula? There isn't. The thing is to sit down and start. So it's a great opportunity to get out there and to just get started with lots of time, and you never know, in a few months' time it could be your book on this bookshelf.
To enter, log on to www.tv3.ie/The Morning Show for all details, and stay tuned to The Morning Show weekdays at 11 a.m. when top Irish authors will offer their advice. So what are you waiting for? The journey to find Ireland's next big author starts now, and who knows, it could be your novel filling bookshelves later this year. Now, the media dined out on burgers last week as news that traces of horse meat were discovered in some burger products. And here on The Morning Show, it made us think just how adventurous is the Irish palate. We certainly don't eat much horse, but what about kangaroo or crocodile? I put my taste buds to the test. As you plan tonight's dinner, rather than the usual, would you consider kangaroo or crocodile? Aussie Barbecue in South Richmond Street in Dublin are trying to change people's palates. This is the roux.
Yeah, this is kangaroo.
It's not an Irish kangaroo.
No, unfortunately not.
The zoo aren't missing anything? No.
Brought in from Australia.
Right.
This is what you're here for, so if you want to give that a try there and see what you think.
Okay, and would this be served with salad as well?
Well, what we do is we just serve it up on its own. We don't want to tarnish the flavour at all. We don't do marinades, anything like that. It's just the raw flavour. It's just simply on the plate with a salad, and that's it.
Okay. Does this come from any particular part of the kangaroo?